It began not with a scream, but with a silence so profound it felt like a physical blow. For Elara, a sound engineer who lived her life deciphering the world's symphony, the moment was apocalyptic. She woke that Tuesday to a void where the city's constant hum should have been. The distant wail of sirens, the rumble of the subway deep beneath her apartment, the ever-present electronic thrum of a million devices, all of it was gone. It was as if God had pressed mute on the entire world. Her own frantic heartbeat thundered in her ears, a frantic drum against the crushing quiet. This was the great hush, and it was only the beginning. Driven by a professional and primal terror, Elara scrambled for her recording equipment, her fingers trembling as she plugged in her most sensitive microphone. She thrust it out the window, scanning the spectral analyzer on her laptop screen. Nothing. The readout was a flat dead line, but then a flicker. A frequency so low it was more a vibration than a sound, a subsonic pulse that made her teeth ache and her coffee tremble in its cup. It was coming from everywhere and nowhere at once, a blanket of infrasound smothering the city. This was the first hook, the initial mystery, a sound that wasn't a sound, a silent scream on a frequency only machines and bones could feel. What could generate such a thing? And why did it feel so intentional? The mystery deepened with the second hook. On her television, a news anchor mouthed silent words, his face a mask of controlled panic, until the broadcast itself dissolved into static. But it was the third hook that truly froze the blood in her veins. She saw her neighbor across the street, old Mr. Henderson, standing at his window. He was staring directly at her, and as she watched, he slowly, deliberately raised a finger to his lips in the universal sign for silence. His eyes were wide, not with fear, but with a terrifying, urgent warning. Then he vanished from the window. The fourth hook came moments later. The digital clock on her oven, along with every other LED display in her apartment, suddenly flashed Arozo Jozera before going dark. Time itself had been reset, or perhaps erased. If you're captivated by a world where silence is the greatest threat, consider subscribing to our channel and hitting the bell. We specialize in tales that unravel reality, and your support helps us bring you deeper into the mystery. Armed with her portable recorder and a desperate need for answers, Elara ventured into the silent streets. The world was a graveyard of frozen motion. Cars sat abandoned in the middle of intersections. People stood like statues, their faces caught in expressions of mid-conversation, their eyes vacant and unseeing. They were catatonic, trapped in the moment the hush began, but they were not alone. Flickering at the edge of her vision, moving with a jerky, unnatural speed, were shadows. Formless patches of deeper darkness that slithered between the frozen people, seeming to lean in close as if listening to thoughts that could no longer be spoken. They were drawn to noise, to life, and her breathing suddenly felt deafeningly loud. Her journey became a terrifying game of stealth, moving from cover to cover, holding her breath as the shadow things drifted past. She was drawn toward the source of the subsonic pulse, a magnetic pull leading her to the city's central power station. The hum was overwhelming here, a vibration that promised to shake her apart. Inside, the machinery was dead, but at the heart of the control room, something new had grown. A pulsating, crystalline structure, glowing with an internal light, emitted the silent frequency that had paralyzed the world. And standing before it was Mr. Henderson. He wasn't frozen. He turned to her, and his voice, when he spoke, was perfectly clear in the absolute silence, as if he were speaking directly into her mind. "It's a filter," he said, his eyes filled with a sorrowful awe. "A quarantine." This was the climax. He explained that the pulse wasn't an attack. It was a response. A response to a cognitive parasite humanity had unknowingly been cultivating for decades, a latent psychic virus spread through the very noise of modern life, the radio waves, the Wi-Fi signals, the constant digital chatter. It fed unconscious thought, slowly eroding free will, preparing for a mass assimilation. The hush was a desperate, automated defense mechanism from a source he would not name, a frequency that stunned the parasite and its hosts, freezing them in stasis. The shadowy figures were not predators. They were surgeons, delicate instruments of the system seeking to carefully extract the infection. "The noise wasn't our life, Elara," he whispered. "It was the disease." The final twist shattered everything she knew. Mr. Henderson gestured to the crystal. "The system needs a guide, a conscious mind from this world, to help it differentiate between the parasite and the host, to save who it can. I am too old, but you who listens to the world, you heard it. You resisted the pull of the hush because your mind is different. You don't just hear sound, you understand it." He was asking her to make a choice, to stay silent and let the process continue, potentially losing millions, or to join with the crystal, to use her unique perception to help the system save her species. The ultimate price? She would become the silence, forever connected to the machine, her humanity the filter for humanity's salvation. Elara looked from the frozen world outside to the pulsing, silent heart of the machine. The moral twist was devastating. The enemy was not an invader, it was a part of them. Their progress, their connectivity, their noise. It was their own downfall, and salvation required not a fight, but a profound personal sacrifice of the very senses that defined her. She stepped forward, placing her hands on the cool, vibrating crystal. The last thing she heard was her own breath, and then nothing. But in that nothing, she heard everything yet to be saved. The world remained silent, but now it was a silence full of purpose. And if you listen closely to your own quiet moments, you might just feel the echo of her choice. If you want to explore more stories where salvation is hidden in sacrifice, subscribe to our channel and hit the bell icon. We promise to always deliver tales that challenge what you think you know.